Hi, Facebook. Hi, Durga Yogis. I'm coming to you live. It's 10 o'clock on Friday. We're on Facebook and we're also on Instagram. And I am talking today on my 10 a.m. chats about how you can deepen your yoga practice, even as a beginner. Good morning, Anne-Marie. Jump on, say hi as you join me. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and it's about how in the yoga practice we can deepen the practice without having to speed it up or throw in any crazy poses or anything like that. But even as a complete beginner, if you've done a few classes or you've been practicing for 6 months or a year, how can you deepen your practice? How can you make it more rounded and benefit more from it? So that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the comments. I love to hear from you when you're watching. Let me know that the content is what you want to hear and that it's making sense. So how can you deepen your yoga practice? And particularly like in a more mindful way to move on the mat. So there's a few different ways of approaching this. And the first one is to allow yourself to be fully present in your own body on the mat. I find I know for me, for a long time when I started the practice, I was concerned about other people in the room and what they were doing. Not in a bad way. I was just interested in where the person next to me was. I suppose it's not hugely helpful to be observing other people throughout the practice or letting my mind wander off. So the first thing that you can do is set the intention when you come to the yoga mat that you're going to keep your focus on your body within the space of your own mat. Like, think about that. If your awareness wanders, it's got to be just within your mat, and then that will stop your attention from going to other people. And just see, can you really stay present with your body in the class? A lot of the time, the languaging that's used in yoga classes can be a little foreign to our ears until we're practicing for a very long time, and you're being asked to observe certain movements within your body or notice how things feel, and we just don't have that connection, particularly in the Western world. We've lost the connection between our mind and our body and the subtleties, because life is quite fast-paced for most people, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the mind. We're thinking and we're planning, and it's all happening up here, and there's a little bit of a disconnect with the body. So don't worry so much when if you're getting cues, very subtle cues from a teacher, and it's just not making sense. Subtle cues can be extremely difficult to pick up on until you're practicing a very long time. So think more, start to observe the bigger things in your body, like the whatever it is that you can notice that are like bigger sensations, like the areas that you feel a deep stretch, the areas that feel like they're working really hard. If there's a part of your physical body that's maybe you're shaking. Sometimes we're holding a yoga pose and you start to feel a little bit of a shake in the pose. Notice those things. And you know what? You don't have to know. At some point, you'll be able to figure out whether it's good or bad sensation that you're feeling, but you don't have to know that right now. To go deeper from just following what the teacher's saying, making the shapes on the mat, the first thing is to keep your awareness within your mat, and then start to feel big sensation in your body. Okay, and that's something that's quite a simple thing that you can hold on to. It's like one thing that you can take, and if nothing else, if that's all that you take away, is that one thing, that's going to make a massive difference then to your whole experience, actually, because you're now reconnecting that link between your mind and your body. And that's just the physical outer body, and it's the bigger sensations. And you start to observe them, to be aware of them. When you become aware of them, then you can start to maybe reflect on them a little bit more. Like stretching in a muscle. How does it feel? Does it feel like a comfortable stretch? Am I okay? How do I know if it's a comfortable stretch? Well, if I can stay in the pose and I can continue to breathe comfortably, and I'm not thinking about when are we getting out of here, like please say come out of the pose. If that's, I'm not having that conversation, then that's a comfortable stretch. I'm okay there. Could I go a little bit further? Possibly, yeah, I could probably go a little bit further here because I'm really comfortable in the stretch. So maybe I could challenge myself to go just a little bit further. How do I know when it's too much and I'm too deep in the pose? Well, if you're in a place where you feel like the muscle is going to snap, right? I mean, sometimes you're in a pose, particularly forward bending, might be back of the legs, and you're like, you know, you feel like you're right on your edge, like this is really a really intense feeling. Well, that's too far. That's definitely too far in the pose. If you're having that conversation in your mind, when are we getting out of here? Like, you know, you're waiting for your teacher to tell you to come out of the pose. That's definitely too far. Now, sometimes you might have that thought right at the end of the pose, and then as soon as you have it nearly, your teacher will guide you back out of the pose. That's okay. But you know, if you're in a place where you need to come out of the pose and you're silently praying to yourself that you're going to be cued out of the pose soon, then maybe you need to ease back a little bit. If your muscles are really shaking in a stretch, so you're stretching your body so far that the muscles are really shaking, then that's too far. You need to back up a little bit, okay? You know, a little shake when we're strengthening, when we're doing something that's building muscle and building strength, is quite normal. But it comes to, you know, there's a fine line between building strength where there's a little shake and then it being, you know, really extreme. So you don't want that. But in a stretch, you definitely don't want to be shaking in a stretch. So, so they're little guidelines to tell you, you know, where you're at with the bigger, more obvious sensation in the outer physical body, in the muscles of your body. Start with that. Notice if something doesn't feel good, you know, and usually things that don't feel good are in the joints. If you're feeling something in the joint, a niggle, a twinge, you know, an ache in the joint, something that, anything in the joint that you're thinking, this isn't good. Listen to that inner voice, because sensation, feeling like that in the joint isn't good. You need to come back. You maybe need to look at the alignment. I personally, if I had a student who hadn't been practicing for a long time and wasn't very aware of what to do to correct it, I would prefer that you ask me, say, I'm feeling that in my knee, or I'm feeling that in my ankle, or I'm feeling it deep in the shoulder, whatever it is, or in the wrist. Say it to your teacher. I would much prefer that you would say it to me, because I could very easily look and see, oh, okay, do this, give you a small correction. It's normally alignment. It's normally the angle of the joint, or the way that you're placing the joint, or the parts of the body around the joint, that's causing that sensation. And that could be in any part of the practice, could be anywhere from your warm-up to your standing poses, to your back bends or your forward bends. You'd be amazed, these things come up in every part of the practice. So that's one way to really change how you're practicing yoga on the mat, so that you start to deepen your yoga practice, because ultimately that's what your goal is, that after a period of time practicing, that you're not just making shapes and following instruction from somebody at the top of the room or copying the shapes that you're seeing, but actually, like, you can even, I like to soften the gaze, but you could even close your eyes. So your focus then is really inwards, and you start to just let your awareness be on the physical sensation, because that's the easiest thing to observe. That's the easiest thing to connect with at this stage, is the physical sensation in the body. Like, what is it? And how does it feel if I move slightly differently? A lot of the time our big focus, even when we're practicing for a very long time, our big focus can be on creating a picture perfect pose, a pose that looks like a shape that you've seen in a yoga magazine or online on Instagram, or on your teacher, the way your teacher does it, or the person that's next to you on the mat, or somebody across the other side of the room, and you're focusing on trying to mimic their shape. And we can really get caught up in that. But actually, what you want to be doing is feeling your body, the sensation in your body, and creating that link between your mind and your body. And then subtle, like playing around in the pose means like a subtle change. Maybe if I ease back here, okay, how does that feel? That feels better. Could I sit a little taller? Oh, I could, or no, I can't, that's it. If I try to keep that lift through the spine and I go to move forward, will anything happen? Don't get caught up in, I have to get there and I have to make this shape, but instead, it's nearly like a deep dive into your body, an exploration of what would happen if I approach it this way, and how does that feel on the outermost layer, like how are my muscles reacting to this, and just working in from that place. Then you'll find that very quickly your awareness will start to go further inwards, and you'll notice more subtleties, which you'll hear cued a lot in yoga class, but you might never actually tap into until you start to put this particular practice in place. So if you start with the bigger things, then you'll find the subtle things start to slot in, because now you're really building an awareness of your body, and you can start to go deeper and notice energetically how your body is, or how your mind starts to react to a pose. Like, the mind can really have strong reactions to certain poses. Some poses we love and some poses we really don't love. And to notice how the mind starts to kick in, and sometimes your mind can react a certain way when we come into the pose, but as we hold it longer, then that shifts and changes, right? So there's a lot of that sort of deeper work that will come from just the first stage, the first practice of being with the big muscles and being within your mat. That practice will lead to the more subtle practice. And then, you can work on, as a third part of deepening the practice. So maybe you've already started to notice the bigger sensations, so now you're going deeper. As a third part, you can start to work on alignment. Sometimes if we really work on getting the lines of the body as we're being asked to in the practice, it becomes changes up the practice again. So for me, I can do a very what some people might think of as a basic class, like yoga basics or a beginner style class. I could go to a class like that and get a lot from it. I don't have to feel like it wasn't beneficial, because I can work on the lines of my body. It's all we do a lot of the same poses from beginners, all the way through. We continue to practice a lot of the same poses, and yes, we can throw in more and we can change up the way that we practice, but actually getting those nice precise lines in the pose, and working your body in all directions, and observing what comes up in the body physically, mentally, energetically. When we start to put all of that together, any practice then can be done by anybody, right? Anybody can go into a beginner's class and benefit from that practice, if you're given the time and the pose to check in and to start to observe. And so I think it's a great thing to take on. I would encourage you all, if you're not there already, to see, could you introduce just the beginning, just the focus within your mat. Try that first, and then as that starts to slot into place, then you can introduce going a little bit deeper and observing your energy and your mind within the practice. And then finally, looking at deepening I want to say deepening the pose itself, but without losing the alignment. So yes, we can always go a little bit further into the pose, but we don't want to lose the lines, the openness, and the chest if you're going into a forward bend, or when we're doing standing poses like warrior pose or side angle pose, that we don't lose the connection with the back leg, that you're not collapsing anywhere within the body. That takes a little bit more time to start to fine tune. Sometimes we think we're deepening our practice because we've a bit more flexibility, so we go much further, say into a side angle, the hips go much deeper, but you'll find that the back leg then just starts to collapse in. There's no strength drawing back. We want to keep it a nice solid structure as we come into the side angle. So often our mind can trick us into thinking we're going deeper into the pose, but we might be going deeper in one part of the pose and kind of losing it somewhere else. So wherever you're at, whether you're a beginner or you've been practicing for a while, take something from this morning's chat and see, could you introduce it when you're on the mat the next time, and let me know how you get on. I love to hear that you're enjoying the 10 a.m. chats, and that it's something that you want to hear about. I also like to, if you have any questions, pop your questions into the comments. I know on Instagram it will disappear, but on Facebook you can go back in and watch the replay. It's there on the page forevermore. So do feel free to comment and ask questions, and let me know how you get on as you take this into your practice, maybe next week or over the weekend. Just share how you go with the practice. So I hope that helps. I am going to sign off now, and I'm heading into the weekend, looking forward to having the weekend off. So for now, have a great day, and if I don't see you on the mat, I will see you on Facebook or Instagram next Friday. Bye!